Come, let us stop meditating without joy, for it is a warning sign. A warning sign of what, you might ask? Well, to paraphrase our friend Bugs Bunny, that our meditation has taken a wrong turn at Albuquerque. There are many ways of organizing the Buddha's teachings. In a method known as the Seven Enlightenment Factors, we are reminded of the importance of joyful love. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but no, not in the fun, tingly way. What could that suckiness look like? It could look like Yang's religious patriarchy. Yang's religion and that 90%. So here's how it works out. That means that 90% of humans, including meditation teachers, are going to give you bad advice. Typically not maliciously, but still bad advice. Here's a great example. If we are told to actively focus and actively analyze, and we do that to a certain degree, we will so exhaust both our medial and our dorsolateral prefrontal cortices that we will trigger our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression. The more anxious you are, the less joyful you are. The more aggressive you are, the less joyful you are. So if the type of meditation you're practicing is reducing your joy, that is an important red flag. Not to give up on meditation, but to exercise some nuance. You see, when we give the front of our brain a rest, and the athlete will tell you, you gotta rest. When you give the front of our brain a rest, and instead practice authentic mindfulness in cooperation with the middle bit of our spinal cord. Let me go into greater detail with that. Well, anyway, when we practice mindfulness and meditation, authentic mindfulness and meditation, in passive cooperation with both facets of our autonomic nervous system, then not only will it automatically calm the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala, but it will gently stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of joyful love. Not neurotic possessiveness masquerading as love, but joyful love. What is an example of joyful love? Well, your partner confronts you and explains that they have been cheating and that they're in love with another. Joyful love, through tears, will sincerely explain that they love them and they want them happy. And if their happiness lies with another, then they should be with the other. Their only request is that they can maintain a friendship. That's joyful love, a love that rejoices in the joy, in the happiness of others. Because I got to tell you, when I was younger and much more foolish, I was politely coercive. And not that I would try to bend people to my will forcefully, but I would gently ask people to meet my needs and to act in a way as if they were more compatible with me than they were. And when someone would comply, that person I was dating would be utterly miserable. I was asking them to act in a way which is inauthentic. Clearly, they were not compatible with me. And no amount of therapy speak was going to make them authentically compatible with me. And so sometimes we have to let others go in a way that respects both our needs. That's joyful love. It's been my experience that letting others do their thing, create space for others to enter our life who are more compatible with us. There is a profound reward for joyful love. I've lived in many monasteries over the years, and it's very easy to find people who behave as if they were sanctimonious narcissists. They had memorized the nomenclature of religiosity, and they were skillfully manipulative enough to weasel their way into positions of prestige and authority. And although they can modulate their tones and their volume, and they can sometimes pull the corners of their lips up into a smile, that smile could not travel through their cheeks and up to their eyes. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, there's a fancy word for it. Michael Pollan wrote a book. It talked about not real tomatoes, but it'll come to me later on. Anyway, when a narcissist disguises themselves as a saint, their giveaway is a lack of joyful love. They might smile with their mouth, they might laugh, but they cannot rejoice in others' good fortune. Oh, they can come up with all kinds of ways. What's the opposite of digital? Analog, that's it. An analog of love, an analog of joyful love, might fool the rubes, might fool the nimnods. But they'll always find a reason to hate and invite you to join along with them on their little hate journey. So we cannot concentrate our way into love. We cannot analyze our way into love. We can notice and relax our way into love. Allow me to illustrate. Every time let's begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which functions as the core of the sympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system. As you've heard me say many times, it has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all mind's antics of perception. Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. All of them. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the conventional to the arduous, from the glorious to the grotesque. But the question remains, what are we to do with all this stuff that we have noticed? The one-word answer is meditation. You see, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access both the tippy top as well as the very bottom of the spinal cord. These two regions, working as a team, function as the core of the parasympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to so relax during our exhalation that which we have noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It would seem that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand? In conclusion, by setting aside some time once every 12 hours or so to authentically notice and relax in harmony with our autonomic nervous system, we shall be lousy with joyful love. This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For multiple decades, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. And oh yeah, by the way, if your teacher cannot help you to meditate in a way that causes you to spontaneously experience joyful love, then find one who will. This is Ahsoka Tano Thursday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. We've already explored the essence of meditation. Let's take it a step further. The essence of mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch each time, silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we passively notice air enter our nostrils. What is the essence of meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel air, each time we passively notice air exit our nostrils. All day long? No. Just when you're sitting and breathing in formal practice. A tool that can help us is the Pasadi Mudra, or meditation gesture. It is useful for inviting our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at our crown. It is also useful when we climb into bed to fall asleep. It is useful at the end of our life that we might transition peacefully. It is useful every time that we feel as if we are on the verge of a meltdown. And it is as easy as using the tip of our left index finger to support the knuckle at the base, the lower knuckle on our right index finger, palms up in our lap. This wonderful gesture is also useful to help us to keep track of our first solitary repetition of watch rest. But how are we going to keep track of the next dozen repetitions? To do that, we're going to draw our attention to our right hand. Every time we silently and mentally, each time we inhale, we're going to advance our thumb, beginning with our right little finger's lower set of creases, concluding with our right index finger's higher set of creases. Together as a team, let us practice right now. To track our next solitary repetition, we touch the tip of our left thumb to our left little finger's lower set of creases. To track our next dozen repetitions, we return to our right hand. To keep track of our next solitary repetition, we return our attention to our left hand and advance our left thumb. And now that you get the basic idea of how we can track both our solitary repetitions as well as our dozen repetitions, let us comfortably rest our hands palms up in our lap. Remember, the moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques that support meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 14 minutes or so. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever anger, whatever hate or love we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was melting into the simplicity of just emotion. The very act of noticing and releasing in harmony with our breathing makes it impossible for that hate or that fear to control our choices or our utterances or our deeds. Therefore, it's safe for us to be honest with what we feel without chasing after some feelings or fleeing from others. Patriarchy loves to praise certain emotions and shame others. Patriarchy is not about our personal empowerment. It's about our disempowerment. It's kind of like the world's worst vampire. Having gathered 13 solitary repetitions and 13 dozen repetitions, it's time to gather another collection. To keep track of that, all we got to do is drag this left fingertip up our right index finger until we come to the middle knuckle, and then start again. It's true that if you rub roses on your body, you'll smell like roses. And if you rub dog dew on your body, you'll smell like dog dew. But the same does not count for mindfulness. If you notice dog dew, you don't smell like dog dew. If you notice roses, you don't smell like roses. We are not harmed by what we emote, intend, reason, recall, or imagine. We are harmed by what we do or don't do with them. So let us persist in sitting, breathing, noticing, and relaxing. In most magical systems, they have techniques for protection and techniques for manifesting. In Ati Yoga, it's simple. When a scary thought prances across our mind, we notice it and relax, and are thus feeding information into the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears to steer clear. When we're sitting and breathing and watching and resting, and a desirous thought cartwheels across the stage of our mind, and we notice it and we relax, our 3-pound supercomputer between our ears knows to steer towards it, or at least to welcome it. By being authentic and honest with what we dread and desire, in harmony with our breathing, we are traversing the easy path, the sustainable path of protection and blessing. Some people describe it as chaos magic, or a very yin form or passive form of chaos magic. Some people will call it Tao Te Ching magic. For instance, there are some people who have power and have authority and want to murder countless of millions of others. And when we remember that and we feel that dread, we notice that dread and relax into it. For we seem to be connected to people directly and indirectly. And gentle, non-neurotic, watching and resting seems to have an effect on us, the world within us, and the world without us. We all have different talents, different abilities. The more we watch and rest in harmony with our breathing, the more our choices and utterances and deeds will be guided in the way that does the most good for the most people in the most wonderful way. Feeling peace does not make us good. Feeling fear does not make us bad. The question is not what do we feel, but what do we do with what we feel? If we notice them, if we notice what we feel, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, we notice what we feel and relax into what we feel. Not only can what we feel do us no harm, it can benefit us, ironically enough. The only teachers we need are our own capacities to notice and relax. Listen to those teachers, and you will not go wrong. So many people have been taught so many toxic behaviors in the name of manifesting. They've been told to rigidly push at what they don't want and pull at what they want, thus feeding their rigid and controlling tendencies. They've been told that their manifesting is contingent upon what they feel. And so they coerce their body and they coerce their heart to feel all manner of things. And in so doing, exhaust themselves. In the Middle Ages, we were told that if we had an ailment, it was because we were demon-possessed or cursed. In the 1800s and 1900s, we were told that if we were sad, it's because we had poor self-esteem or maybe hated our parents. But now we learn that there are pathologies and disorders of the body that create every symptom. There are no emotional problems, just emotional symptoms of physiological problems. Treat the physiological problem and the emotional symptom fades. It evaporates like the morning dew on a blade of grass on a hot summer's morning. Having gathered two collections of in preparation for our gathering of our next collection of 13 single repetitions of what and 13 dozen repetitions, we have a choice. We can slide the tip of our left index finger up the back of our right index finger till it comes to the third knuckle, or we can switch fingers and instead touch the tip of the left middle finger to the lower knuckle of the right middle finger, palms up in the lap. I recommend the latter of the two. This is known as the Sati Mudra, or mindfulness gesture, and invites our subtle energies to coalesce in our chest. And it's simple. As we passively notice our chest swell with breath, we silently and mentally recite the verb feel. And as we passively notice our chest subtly sink, as gently we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the verb rest. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's dawn practice of Meditate Like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.